Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to a new podcast. It's a very interesting topic we'll be talking about today. Actually, you know the story about those a newlywed lady cooking fish for her husband. She cut off the head and tail before placing it in the pan. The husband asks, "Why do you cut it like that?" And oh, okay, sorry. Okay. The live on LinkedIn jumped in and did some
Okay,
egg.
start over.
Okay. So we will be starting over. So this is a newlywed story about the lady who was cooking fish for her husband, and he asked her why you are cutting the head, and she was like, "That's how my mom did it." He said, "You're not supposed to. Let's ask your mom." So they asked her mom, and she said, "That's how my mom did it." So they called the grandma, and the grandma was, "I don't know. I didn't have a bigger pan. That's why I was cutting the head." And this story made me reflect on our beliefs or habits that are sometimes transferred from generation and generation without knowing why, and sometimes they aren't much positive. But lately, I attended a life transformation course. It was an amazing 5 days course with a lot of self awareness and going deep into traumas, beliefs, and all these things that affect our life. But I realized that we repeat patterns without knowing why, not just in our habits, but also in our reactions to things in life, how we believe things, how we love, how we lead, how we hold ourselves back. Inherited beliefs aren't only about how we look or habits that are culturally transferred, but recently I discovered also traumas, also fears, also emotional blocks are transferred from our ancestors, from our previous generations. During this program I attended, my eyes were really open to this idea, and I started digging deeper. And I realized many of the beliefs I had, many of the fears I have, are just beliefs and fear back in my family line. They had it. They were caused by trauma, but are still alive in us. That's why today I picked this topic about generational trauma. And just to disclaim, I'm not an expert in this, but I have passion in this topic. I was so amazed by the awareness I got from this topic. And I invited my dear friend, Masoma Tamim. She is a transformation coach who also got really involved in this work. And we just want to discuss a little bit our knowledge, our experience, what we learned about it, how it helped us to grow in our lives, and also hopefully give you some awareness and inspiration too. Hi, Masuma. Thank you for joining.
Hi, Jalita. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
That's great. So let's jump deep into this topic because I'm so excited about it. What is generational trauma?
That's a great question, and I'm not going to give you a definition. I would like to start with a small little 10-second visualization just to
Oh,
demonstrate what it is, okay? So I
so
want you to close your
you're using me for
yes,
demonstration.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
I
I
hope
want
I'm
you to close
yeah.
your eyes for just 10 seconds, okay?
Okay.
All right. Imagine the smell of warm za'atar bread, fresh out of the oven. Imagine sitting in your grandmother's kitchen, hearing the gentle clinking of tea glasses, and then far in the distance, a soft echo of the azan prayer calling everyone to come pray. And now
Okay.
add something else. a sudden sharp boom. Maybe your parents or grandparents once heard that sound. Maybe they never talked about it, but somehow your chest feels tight anyway. You don't know where this feeling is coming from. That's how trauma can travel even without words. It's like a whisper moving through generations. You can go ahead and open your eyes.
I opened my eyes because I felt it like the
Yeah.
boom, I felt it all over my body. Now, big
Hmm.
part of it, I've been raised in Lebanon during this war period. We had this booming, we had a lot, and this what excite me maybe about this topic because we were growing up in trauma, and I know my parents, my grandparents, their grandparents also, it keeps getting like it's repetitive cycle. We always have these issues in the Middle East, and this brings a lot of uh, trauma in our personalities, blockages in a way that I wasn't aware. It's the cause of it is the generation that passed. Like I
Yeah.
didn't live it, but why I have fear. For example, one of the traumas, not one of the beliefs I had, is basically I always wanted to be in control. And part of the techniques we used, I realized this fear of loss of control, fear of always starting over, comes from previous generations where with every war they have to build again, they have to start over, they have, and it carries on my life where I call myself to go move somewhere else and start over. So what does this mean to you, Basoma? How do you apply it in your life?
How do I apply?
Like learning about generational trauma.
Oh, okay. Let me just give a quick little story about how I even came across this stuff
Okay.
before our training. Yeah. Um, 2 or 3 years ago, I got really frustrated with myself because I had been doing self development work for like 5 years, trying to heal my broken heart after my marriage, ended. And I was like, how come I can't get to the bottom of this stuff? Like, what else is there? Like I've done all the different things, the energy healing techniques. I've gone to transformational, what it's called, seminar after seminar after seminar, healing retreats, all of it. And I was like, what else is there? Like, why can't I just recover from this? I was trying to force something that I wasn't even aware of. And so I started asking different questions from God, universe, and I was like, okay, like, what am I missing? Show me the thing. And I just happened to get sick that weekend, and I never take time off. Okay, this is also a trauma response, like in the especially as women. Um, we keep ourselves busy. We go, go, go until we drop, until we can't go
Yeah.
anymore. And so, yeah, I dropped, and for the first time, I took a weekend off of work, and I stopped learning. I stopped worrying about all that stuff. And I was just like browsing through Netflix, and I saw this show called Another Self. Okay. It's a Turkish soap opera, not soap opera, sorry. It's a Turkish series. At that time, it was just like the first season. Okay. It was dubbed in English. So I was listening, to them talk in English, even though it's in Turkish. But basically, it demonstrates family constellations and trauma that gets passed on to next generations, right? So the show is about these three best friends, and one of them gets a terminal illness, and then she doesn't want to do chemo, and she's like, I'm gonna go explore this new method or whatever, because she's heard about this guy named Zaman, and she travels like I think an hour and a half away from her hometown, and she tells her best friend, she's like, come with me. Each of them have different issues going on. One of them is a medical doctor, the other one is a housewife with money issues and blah blah blah.
Okay.
Anyway, so they travel to this city, and she goes to see this guy named Zaman, and he demonstrates, like I can't describe exactly what he does because I don't really understand what he does, but I know that it's generational trauma healing technique. Okay,
Okay.
and so as soon as I saw this, it was like a light bulb went on in my head. Hey, what kind of generational trauma do you have? What else do you have to discover about yourself that will that will unlock the next level of your evolution? And so then I started asking questions from my parents about my grandparents, especially my grandmothers. And sure enough, I figured out some good juicy information that would help me go within even deeper, so I can like rewire my like my emotions, my self-confidence. Oh, I forgot to tell you. So the biggest thing that I struggled with was my worthiness. Yeah, like feeling
Okay.
worthy enough to do this or to just be. Like I always, no matter how much self-development I did, I never felt like I was good enough. I never felt like I was worthy of this or that. Um, I couldn't accept I couldn't accept any uh, love. I couldn't receive any love. I couldn't receive big money. Um, I was completely like sabotaging myself, and it like my deep rooted blockage was my unworthiness. Like on a cellular level, I felt unworthy of receiving, unworthy of stepping into leadership,
Yeah.
transformational coaching, or whatever. And so it unlocked that, and then afterwards I went into like the studying part of it, right? I studied what is generational trauma, why does it happen, and I only recently discovered this book called It Didn't Start With You.
Yeah.
So I shared that book with you, and also we've done a few sessions between ourselves after our transformation coaching training,
Mhm.
and so you got to experience it for yourself, and I'm still like discovering new things. um, but yeah, it's really fascinating, this book that I'm reading by Mark Wolin. It's called It Didn't Start With You, and he
Yeah.
tells his story, but also he gives us a lot of studies on how this has been tested, and you know even like modern times, they've studied Syrian and Iraqi war trauma and how it gets passed on from generation to generation. So, anyway, I'm going to stop right there in case you have other questions.
You know, there's a lot of questions, honestly, in the book. When I got introduced to generational trauma, when in the course they were saying that maybe you didn't pass through this experience, but this is something your grandma experienced. You're
Mhm.
you're expressing your grandma's feeling. I was like,
Mhm.
what's this? This doesn't make sense.
Mhm.
As I start discovering deeper, as I started reading, I was surprised how many studies and how many books were about this topic, which we feel we are putting ourselves down, we are sabotaging ourselves, we are passing through certain situations like it's our fault. But basically, no, it's something in the genetics, just the same as if I have anything in my shape, if I'm tall or short, if I'm all these are part that we couldn't control. We have them, they
Mhm.
are built in. This generational trauma is also something that sometimes, or those limits or beliefs are something built in.
Mhm.
And it was big discovery. One thing I noticed, for example, a couple of years ago I had a surgery, and this surgery was in August.
Mhm.
Every August, I feel part of the pain the same way as I felt in the surgery. And
Mhm.
why my hand is hurting, then I remember, this month I did the surgery.
Mhm.
And this is, I think, okay, my body remembers the pain and it's a cycle, circadian rhythm, whatever it is. But now from the books and studies, I realized if my grandma has a certain pain, I can grow
Mhm.
up having this pain, which
Mhm.
which is also and explained us a lot of unexplained basically pains we have, symptoms we have that aren't uh, aren't medically supported by
Mhm.
any reason. Now, how can this knowledge, if we know about it, since we have this awareness, why it's important to know about generational trauma and understand what we're passing through?
Well, the biggest thing is if you've done, like let's say you're struggling with something, yeah. So in my journey to entrepreneurship, I was I was trying to transform from being being a entrepreneur, who want to be an entrepreneur, to entrepreneur, and like really stepping into it. But I had all these like deep rooted feelings of not good enough, right? Imposter syndrome. I was like, who am I kidding? Like I have nothing to offer. Like, what do I know about life? I couldn't do it. Okay. And so I wondered, like, where do these like beliefs come from? Because like I'm educated. I have like literally like 15 certifications in all kinds of, healing modalities and mental like mindset and emotions and trauma healing and all this stuff. And I'm like, when is it enough? How much is enough? Like when will I actually like give myself permission to step into the um, next phase of my giving back to humanity? Like what's the point of having all this knowledge if I can't share it or if I can't help people? And so like those are the biggest reasons why like those are the biggest things that are really hidden, like they're the root causes of why we can't manifest the life that we want to live. So like if you've already done all the things and don't know, like, okay, why am I still not getting there? Like there's a destination and you're in the journey and you're like working towards it, but it's like every time you get close to it, it's like it gets pushed back and you're like, okay, what is it? And so I think that when you're in a place where you've done all the things and you've exhausted all your options, it's a good one to look at to see, like, okay, where did this belief around uh, money come from? Why can't I manifest more money? Or why can't I step into leadership? Why can't I speak my truth? Why am I so afraid of being seen, right? So that was another thing that I struggled with. I didn't want to be seen. Like I would take courses, but I would never turn on my camera, like in the beginning. Um, and then like once I became aware of like, okay, I have a fear of being seen. I worked on that, for example. Yeah, I went deep into the root of it. Um, my family's from Afghanistan, and Islamic background. Women didn't have a lot of rights. They had to cover up, and also even myself, I had memories of my mom hiding me when we were traveling because, like I was a girl and she didn't want people to see me or touch me or whatever. And so like there's all these things that lead to your limitations, but sometimes your limitations are not your limitations. They were handed to you. But even though trauma is not your fault, healing is your responsibility, especially when you become aware of it and you're trying to consciously create the life that you want to live. And so like that's how I that's how I apply it to my life now.
Yeah, that's you said a lot of stuff, especially being from more not much open culture. For example, you're from Afghanistan, I'm from Middle East. Although the period I was raised in the Middle East, women have a lot of involvement in the community. They are working, they are educated now. There's a lot of change in the cultures, but
Hmm.
there's still some suppressing behaviors. that are built in. You're a woman, you can do this. And even if it's not the culture suppressing, we are self suppressing because
Mhm.
we have this tradition like, no, I'm not enough. I'm a woman. Maybe is this cultural, um, if you want, raising, or it's something my grandma was thinking about and it was carried towards me.
Mhm.
How can we identify what's truly generational and what's just from our own issues, basically?
I think the best way to determine whether it's cultural conditioning or a belief that was handed to you is if you're not aware of the stories that your parents have told you or that you have experienced, to do it in a meditative state. Yeah. So, like after you pray, you can actually ask because, like, the higher power is always listening to you, yeah, and the quality of your life depends on the quality of your questions. So if you ask like where did this come from, the answers will come to you. I have solved many many puzzles for myself by simply asking the perfect question, and so I have, like the example I told you when I found the Netflix series. So like sometimes the answers are not, they don't come to you through like, like an angel that appears before you. Sometimes those answers come to you in the form of like an email, like you'll receive a random email from someone based on whatever question you asked, or you'll see a post on Instagram or a video on YouTube, like based on like what you were thinking, you can receive answers, and then there's like a knowingness, this is the answer to the question that you asked, because we're all connected, like consciously we're all connected, but unconsciously we're not aware. No, sorry. Uh, Consciously we don't understand how we're connected, okay? Because I see you outside of me, right? But unconsciously we're all connected, and so your questions, like vibrate, ripple out, and then the answers come to you in one way or another. Does that answer your question?
Yes. Uh, it answers my question because I have some hands-on experience. I have some awareness. But if you ask me, if you answer this way, the before my knowledge about this, before reading books, listening to, checking research, or doing all these, even hands-on experiences, I wouldn't have this much um, faith in what you're saying because it's
Mhm,
so spiritual. It's so hard for the mind to recognize
mhm,
or to
mhm,
really understand this. It challenges everything we've been living through or thinking through. For us,
mhm,
we are different individuals. I'm not like my mom. I'm not like my grandma. They are in a different culture, but realizing that although we're different, although maybe I have more different experience, I moved to a different culture, I'm still carrying their beliefs, their fears, their emotions, and those are controlling my life now.
mhm.
So, can you share a small story, basically, to bring it down to real life?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So, another common way that you can find out these things is go to like a psychic, you know, someone you trust. I don't know if you're okay with psychics, but I'm actually being trained in intuitive uh, therapy. Okay, I'm in level 2 of 3, and I've also been what's it called, certified in divine healing. So we kind of like, we almost like take a vow, like people like me, we take a vow of being a channel, yeah, a channel in which information can get transferred to the person seeking knowledge, right? And so, like for example, in my intuitive therapy training, we learn how to ground ourselves and remove our ego, and then allow like the messages to come through us to the person that we're reading, right? And so like we tap into, I connect with you, for example, I connect with you in some kind of like energetic bubble, and I have access to your memories, to your pictures, like they're called pictures, right? Um, Basically, it like the more I cleanse myself and surrender to being a channel, I can tap into your stuff and see pictures for you and tell you, oh, like I see this pattern for you, and you can, and this didn't come from you. This came from your grandmother or grandfather or whatever. And so, like, if it's too high level for you and you want to still get answers to your particular pattern, you can go to intuitive therapy practitioners, and I can share those resources with you because I think they do monthly trauma healing meetings and stuff like that, and they do readings for people, like for someone who's ready to find answers that are beyond this physical realm.
Yeah.
um, you can go to practitioners such as myself or my colleagues, and you can ask the questions, and you'll get there faster if you don't want to do your own inner work and find out.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. I believe a lot in working with someone else because it's not an easy work to
Hmm.
force. Uh, I've tried working on myself, and when you really have the power of focus and know where you're going, your mind can show you a lot of
Hmm.
information and reveal a lot of clarity about the situation, why
Hmm.
you're passing through these behaviors. Uh, but of course, working with someone else would make it easier because you have the support, the structure that will help you go through the period. But
Hmm.
how can we realize that those pattern exist? How can I explain? What are the symptoms that would tell people that, oh, this is a generational trauma? It's not yours. It's there. If it's your grandparents, maybe certain wordings that is said about fear, or do you have any insights? I know there was a lot mentioned in the book.
Hmm. I think the biggest thing that will bring you awareness is just listening to your body and how your body responds to something. Yeah. So when we started, I asked you to close your eyes and I painted a picture for you. And then when I said, there was a sudden boom, you felt it, yeah, in your body.
Yeah.
So your body is always communicating with you, and you have to quiet the mind enough in order for your body to tell you. So if you're getting regular panic attacks, or if you're getting regular, anxiety attacks or stuff like that, that's usually an indicator that there's something going on in your body that is not medical. You can't like numb it with a pill if it's repetitive, yeah. Or um, like if you don't want to do that, it's another easy method is to journal on it, right? So like, I don't know if you've heard of shadow work. So shadow work is um, looking at aspects of you that you're not yet aware of, but you see it in others. So if you have an irritation about someone else, you're like, oh, I hate it when blah blah blah. Or like, let's say you judge someone based on what they're doing or what they're saying, yeah. That's a part of your shadow. And so you start to journal, and you're like, okay, why am I judging this person? Am I jealous of them? What am I jealous of? Can I not have what they have, or is it that it's not for me? So like, journaling is another form of figuring it out on your own. um, I think breath work, somatic breath work, is another easy. Well, it's not easy actually. It's simple, but it's not easy.
Yeah.
So somatic breath work or somatic exercises release trauma from your body easily, and you don't have to really like face that fear or whatever it is. Um, let's see. How else can you become aware of it? You notice patterns, like you pretty much like become aware of the patterns, like um, Like, what is something that your father always does, and it doesn't work out for him? You know what I mean? And so, like, you're like, okay, what is this about? And then you recognize, do I have this pattern? What is something that your mother's my mom worries, okay? That's her, like, her normal state of being. She wakes up and she calls me like 8 o'clock in the morning and she's worried about something, something that is not in her control. Uh, Something that is not even, like, you should worry about it. But she, like, this is her normal state of being. And so then I kind of make her do some breathing, breathe into the belly and release whatever the worry is, because it's just a trauma response that is stuck in our body. Yeah.
Okay.
So just basically being aware of how your body responds to certain things. Journaling, breath work, meditation. Let's see, or going to someone and saying, okay, I'm stuck here in this part of my life and I want to go forward. What's in my way?
Mm-hmm.
So those are the five different ways I can think of.
Yeah. No, it's basically just ask for more awareness. And this is the goal of this talk today. As I mentioned before, we're not much experts, but we
Hmm.
lived the experience and we realized how important it is to understand what's going on with us. For example, one of the things I had struggled with is I always have the feeling that I want to give others. I want to sacrifice. That's fine if I lose so others will win. And
Hmm.
this feeling was, and my mom used to always say, know your worth. Don't give too much. Like you, I'm a people pleaser.
Hmm.
And for me, okay, people pleaser, it's something that's normal. Many people are people pleasers. I went to therapy. I went to a lot of things. But after this lesson, I meditated and I asked my unconscious mind,
Hmm.
just take me to the picture that gives me, that explains why I'm do people pleaser basically.
Hmm.
And as I meditated, went through this breathing, I went to a picture of my grandma.
Hmm.
And in that period, my grandma was passing through a stage where she was, in a way, sacrificed to heal
Hmm.
family clashes.
Yeah.
So it was preset marriage, and I didn't know the story, but I know that my grandma was in a position where she was always giving, she was always sacrificing herself to please others and to make others happy. And I didn't know about it. So I went and I asked my mom without telling her what was the issue. But I
Hmm.
asked my mom, like, how did my grandma married my grandpa and things like that? And she told me the story and I was shocked. I've seen it
Hmm.
without, I didn't see details, but I see
Hmm.
the feelings, the emotions
Yeah.
she had, and I felt it inside. So this was life experience that was really crazy, and it helped me understand, okay, when I pass through this pattern, I want to please others, I want to sacrifice my comfort, my benefit to others. This is a
Hmm.
reminder that no, you're not a tool for people to sacrifice for them. You have to.
Hmm.
So the first step of healing starts from awareness, right? You're right.
Yes, 100%.
So once we know, and this is the goal, just know, just realize that this is happening, then is the second step of passing through all these tools and helping others.
Hmm.
As people from, go ahead, what do you want to share?
Oh, my trick in expanding my awareness is simply asking the right questions. So if you're not getting an answer, change your question, ask a better question, keep asking questions.
Yeah,
Because, like, when I was trying to heal myself, I, oh, also, like, make sure that the questions that you're asking are not self destructive. Don't ask questions like, why is this happening to me?
yeah,
Don't.
No,
Ask a better
that's
question.
not the phrasing I was using, but this is how I
I
feel
know.
like.
Yeah, I know. Initially, that's how I started, and I was like, "Oh, don't
Yeah,
show me more evidence." No. I started I started asking a better question. How is this happening for me? So whatever that was happening was, well, how is this happening for me? How does it get better than this? What do I
yeah.
need to do to get to the other side of this? You know? And so like when you ask the appropriate questions, your awareness will bring the answers to you, and you can really look at it, you know, and heal it.
I love it. Let's go back to the book and discuss some of the stories that are shared in the book, because the stories shared were bigger than our experience. And it's important to put this perception that maybe people would start more understanding what's generational trauma. The first story, it's about the experiment that was done for the mice, on the mice,
Hmm.
because mice genetically are the closest to human beings with the genetics and DNA, and
Hmm.
it's easier to create more generations because the generation time for mice is less than the human being. Instead of
Yeah,
taking years, it takes weeks. Can you explain more this study?
sure. So, like in the study, he describes the mice were exposed to, I think, a Japanese blossom tree. Yeah, they smelled the tree, and then they were electrocuted at different different variables on the mice. Okay, when they would get close to the tree. So that was them getting conditioned to don't smell the tree or whatever, right?
So every time they smell, they are electrocuted.
Yeah.
So it links that this causes this pain.
Yes, this
Yeah.
pain exactly. And then they studied the, you know, like the offspring of those same exact mice. But this time they didn't electrocute the, you know, like the next generation or the generation after that. But every time those mice went close to the Japanese blossom tree, they still felt those same, um, you know, the same pain that the grandfather felt or the father felt. Um, but with no indicator of like no like actual like electrocution. And so like it was in their cellular memory, and then when they studied it on the DNA, I guess there's markers, right? And it showed like there was that stress was um, was found in both the next generation and the generation after that.
Okay. Yeah.
um, so, like, really quickly about the author, what he experienced and how he discovered this. Um, it, do we have time?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So the author, his name is Mark Woolen, and he had a sudden mystery illness. One of his eyes was starting to lose vision. Okay, and he didn't know what was going on. The doctors said that eventually, like, both his eyes would go blind, and there was no cure for it. And so, of course, you know, he panics and he's like, "Okay, I can't lose my eyes. Like, this was too much stress for his body. Who's going to take care of me? All that stuff, all the fears, yeah, came up for him." He quit his job and he traveled through Southeast Asia, and he went to guru after guru, did meditation after meditation, um, fasted, juice fasts, and saw healers. And his eyes kept getting worse, and his anxiety and his depression kept getting worse and worse. And then finally, he went to this guru, like who was well known, and so he was really proud, and he stood in line all day long to go see this and to be commanded as like, "Oh, okay, you're doing really good, and you're going to be enlightened or whatever." But as soon as he goes to him, um, the spiritual leader tells him, um, "Go home and call your parents." And he's like, "What?" He was like, upset. He's like, what? I waited all day just to hear this. And so like they wanted him to make peace with his parents, and he didn't know what the connection was. So then he gave up on that spiritual leader and he went to another spiritual leader. And again, he stood in line all day just to meet, you know, and show off like how much work he's done, and wonder like, what is it, like what am I missing? And the second spiritual leader told him, go home and make peace with your parents, with your family. And he's like, and so this time he actually listened. So he goes home and he's like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. But somehow he discovers that his grandparents were all orphaned at a young age, and the stress of not having their parents around stayed in their body, and it passed on. And then he somehow connects with his mom, and he finds out that his behavior was exactly the same as his mom's behavior. Every time his mom would leave the house, he would go and find her clothes and sniff, like, and smell her clothes, and try to find comfort from like the separation, the abandoned, like, because they feel abandoned on a deep level. And so that's how he discovered. He's like, okay, there's something to this, obviously. And so I don't know. I just found that story really fascinating. How he found the pattern of like, well, what he had in common with him, his sister, and his mom. They all had the same behavior. Every
Yeah.
time their mom would leave, they would go and like smell their mom's clothes to feel like some sense of security and like control, because they felt abandoned. And anyway.
And also in the book, he mentioned as he went into the journey of healing the relationship with his parents, his
Mhm.
eye healed. And now he has 20/20 vision, where
Yeah.
the doctors before said that there is no solution. So
Hmm.
it was directly linked to the trauma from his older generations and how things
Exactly.
in. Also other stories exciting, which is someone hurting themselves, trying to commit suicide, and
Mhm.
it was linked to previous generations where for example, a grandma was in a car accident where her husband died, so she felt she should die too, and all these uh, experiences that if they weren't resolved as in that generation, it carries on to the children. And
Mhm.
this is a big point, and we'll end with this point. Usually, when we pass through a tough experience, through a trauma, through a hardship, we tend to not mention it, not talk about it, just let it be forgotten. And this is something in our culture in the Middle East, because we pass through these things, we heal these things with jokes, and we
Mhm.
laugh, we play, and we always, for example, I'm Lebanese, I'm always proud all Lebanese people are resilient. The
Mhm.
moment the bombing stop, we party, even we party while the bombing is going on, and we don't talk about it again. Whatever happens, if for example, my dad passed away when I was really a child, and we never talked about it, as if it's
Mhm.
something that didn't happen, because we are scared to hurt each other by remembering or mentioning it.
Mhm.
So this is a big issue that will make trauma be transferred to other generations, because we didn't deal with it, we didn't heal it. So
Exactly.
how can we start working more awareness on healing what we are passing through, this the journey of self healing and discovery, how important it is.
Oh, I mean, it's pretty much the whole thing, right? It's part of the healing. So what he says is, if you don't talk about it, it doesn't get healed. That cellular memories or the emotion gets stuck in your cellular memory, and it just passes on. And so it takes one person you know, uh, to take responsibility or whatever. In my case, I feel like none of my generations had healed some of their stuff, and then like I decided that I'm gonna break these patterns or whatever.
It didn't start with you, but it will end with you.
It will end with me. Yes,
Be-
exactly.
because you're responsible for the coming generations. Uh,
Yeah.
what's also astonishing was the part that it's not about only feelings, it changes our DNA.
Mm-hmm.
So those traumas change our DNA, what they call it, structure or shape.
Mm-hmm.
So it's engraved and it's transmitted as any other trait or character we have taken
Right.
from our parents. How can you help people pass who have this situation? How can you help them? How can they reach out to you for sessions, or what can you offer?
I'm happy to offer a free consultation where I can do a quick reading on them and say, okay, this is generational trauma, or no, it's from this lifetime. You still have to heal those things if you want to heal. And I'm happy to provide you with my Calendly link. And then, if they just want to have a chat, or maybe you and I can start I don't know, a group discussion where people get to talk about if they have a, um, if they have awareness around their particular patterns or particular generational traumas, and you and I can host a group setting on Zoom or whichever platform, where we give them a safe space to be heard, to talk about it, and to heal from it.
That would be amazing, of course. And Masuma, you can find her also on social media. You can reach out to me if you have any questions for Masuma. And is there anything you like to end with?
Mm, no, just a thank you for like addressing this, like especially for our people, because I don't see a lot of our people stepping into like the healing space, or maybe I'm not aware of them. I'm sorry if I'm insulting anyone. um, but I would love to explore this further and help our people heal, especially now with the most recent traumas happening in all of our countries. Uh, so what I would like to end with is all of humanity and the planet is all going through a major evolution. We're evolving in our consciousness. We're evolving in our personalities. We're evolving in our bodies, genetics, and so the more of us that really like take responsibility, step into it, and break those past limiting stuff, we can co-create a better world and bring more peace to the planet if we all connect on this level together and do the inner work and shift it. Thank you.
I love it. Thank you. Of course, we will have a lot of conversations coming in together from for
Yeah.
different topics, not only this. We're just happy to share life experience. I'd love to listen to your experiences because I know you are on a continuous growth journey, inwards and outwards, which is amazing. So
Thank you.
thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
And just for everyone, remember, if it didn't start you with you, it's your responsibility to make it end with you. And
Mhm.
I will see you soon in a future